Hello everyone, welcome to Expat channel. I'm with my good friend Matt today, and Matt is a perfect representative of a topic that I really want to talk about for the channel, and that topic is, will I stay or will I go? Let's get after it. So, Matt has lived in Japan for 20 plus years, and during this time he has struggled with the same question that most foreigners struggle with while they're here, and that is, am I going to stay in Japan much longer? Am I going to stay in Japan indefinitely? Or am I going to leave Japan and return to my country of origin anytime soon? So, the situation actually is, despite 20 plus years living here, despite a Japanese wife and kids in Japanese schools, a full-time job and a house, this guy is heading back to Canada come fall. You know, barring a coronavirus canceled flight, it's all coming to, you know, it's all happening in a couple months, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I really want to talk to you about how this decision came to be, like why you decided to do this, what this decision has involved, and let's start at the beginning, I guess. What brought you to Japan in the first place?
In the first place, I came because for work. Basically, I had a motivation to teach English in somewhere in Asian countries, and basically another point was I just lost my job recently.
Oh,
so it's
okay.
time for a career change.
All right, so it was a timing thing.
Timing thing too, but I had a motivation to teach and to travel. Yeah.
How old were you?
26.
26, okay.
Yeah.
The light has changed. I'll ask you the next question.
Okay.
So, you came to Japan, and when you first came, how long did you think you were going to be here?
1 year.
1 year?
I had a plan for 1 year, and I thought if I liked it and things went well, I'd stay for it too. And then I'd just come back.
So
it was a temporary thing, basically.
What happened? Because you obviously didn't stay 1 year.
Right. Well, I came and I started working. I thought I'd like to make teaching a career perhaps, and I liked traveling a lot. I was really excited. I didn't get culture shock in a negative way, so I really enjoyed everything being different and new and exciting for me being here in Japan.
Okay.
I enjoyed it, yeah.
So, you were mentioning earlier that you kind of went back and forth over your time in Japan. Like sometimes you were thinking, oh, I'll go back to Canada, or and then that would change and you'd stay longer.
Right.
When was the first time you kind of got it in your mind again that maybe I'll go back to Canada?
The first time, well, to be honest, would be after I got married, after I'd been here for 5 years.
Okay.
The first time I considered this was after we had children, and because to that point we still enjoyed living in Japan, and I had no motivation to go back, I had no job to go back to, and I was happy here. But it was when my wife and I had some children, and we decided that it'd be hard to raise them to be bilingual here on our own. It was difficult for us.
Okay, so 5 years in, and one of the reasons was trying to get your children bilingual.
Right. Before that, I had no motivation to go back.
Okay.
I was happy here, yeah.
All right, so you began to think about, for the purposes of helping your kids be bilingual, you'd head back to Canada once you'd had children, but you didn't right away, right? So what actually kept you from doing so?
Well, what actually happened was, at first I thought that my kids could learn 2 languages by living with myself. My wife was Japanese, and learn 2 languages naturally at home, but that didn't happen. After a few years after our kids started growing up, we realized it would be difficult to become bilingual in this country. So that's when I began to think about going back someday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was harder for them to end up bilingual than you thought.
Right.
It didn't just happen. Okay.
Yeah. After a few years after they were born.
Did you take them back to Canada at all on trips, or?
Yes. Yeah. About twice. Yeah, a couple times.
Twice.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you ended up So they're not really turning bilingual naturally.
No, it's not that easy. Right.
So what happened next?
We thought that, well, international school is too expensive for us.
Okay.
We had 3 children, so
They are expensive.
yeah. So we thought, okay, someday we'll move to Canada or somewhere where English is the main language.
Okay.
You know,
And when you
but
and when-
had no plan for a while.
and when you say someday, like, what do you mean by that? Like, were you setting a, were you looking at your kid and say, before they enter junior high school, or did you have something in mind?
Well, we were thinking before they become 10 or 12 years old. That's often I've heard a good point for learning second language between the ages of 3 to 12.
Yeah.
I've heard that before, so we were thinking before they become teenagers, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
know.
the literature research tends to show that
Yeah.
once you reach the teenage years, learning a second language becomes more
Right.
and more difficult.
Right. We stayed for a couple of years until they were comfortable with their native, well, speaking Japanese well, because this is where they live and they were born and grew up here. And they enjoyed elementary school in Japan, a lot of good events, and they made some friends. So we thought maybe around age 10 or 12 for them
Okay.
would be good.
What was before now, let's say, what was the closest you actually got to going through with the move to Canada?
Aha. I know that point in time. It was 3 years ago.
Okay.
3 years ago, exactly. We actually had bought plane tickets and we're preparing different things. We were
had
making plans.
plane tickets.
We did buy plane tickets, yeah. So we had actual plans.
What happened? What stopped that?
We thought about it some more, and
So, okay, you had your plane tickets, you were ready to go, and you ended up not going. So what
Right.
happened at that point that you didn't actually go through with it?
right, we changed our minds. It was at least half a year before we were scheduled to go, so it was not a big deal. We had a family situation came up, something that we had to think needed more time to consider our options and wait a few more years.
Okay,
Well,
that makes total sense. I mean, it's a big move for everyone in your family as well, so you have to consider everyone's situation.
Right, we weren't all ready yet.
Okay,
Make a big move like that.
that sounds like a fair reason.
Yeah.
So I want to touch actually on something else you said, which was you had the plane tickets, but you didn't actually have a job lined up in Canada?
Right.
Okay.
I know, because it sounds risky.
Yeah, it sounds a bit risky.
It is. Yeah.
So what were you planning on doing? If you'd actually gone through with it, how were you going to find
Well, I was
work?
planning to look online first, 6 months to a year before I was going to go, and look for some leads, make some contacts online, and if I had nothing, I just would still go and try to arrive and keep trying.
Well, that's kind of how you came to Japan. You said you came here as an adventure.
Yeah.
A little harder to do an adventure with a family, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
More power to you.
Yeah. I know.
So that's 3 years ago. And so now the time feels right and everything's...
Yes, because the kids are getting older now, right? And one of my children is really into learning English now.
Oh, that's nice.
He's got motivation. He says he wants to go too.
Good.
Yeah. And
So-
other 2 of my children are kind of also excited. No one's has a problem with going.
Okay.
Some kids have a big move. They afraid to leave their friends behind, a different culture and language, but none of them seem like they're not really complaining that we're going.
Well, that's good. And it sounds like your wife has been supportive of the idea all throughout?
Yes, yeah, she's looking forward to it.
Okay, yeah, because I could see that being a barrier, one spouse wants to go and the other doesn't. I mean...
Yeah, no, not the case at all. No,
Oh, that's good.
So we're all looking forward to it.
Let's go up this way because we're running towards construction. It's going to be noisy.
Yeah.
So what have been the challenges of the move itself? I mean, certainly it's had to have involved a lot of planning, and like I mentioned in the intro, you have a house, and I know you had a car too, so
Right.
how did you take care of all these things?
It takes a long time. It really does. We're selling the car because we live in a very convenient area right now, and until we leave. And for the house, you know, we can still keep it as an investment, as an owner. So we're able to sublet the house. So we're able to leave the country and know things are probably okay. You know, my wife's family could come by and look at it once in a while.
Okay.
Well, we have to get, you know, kids' passports ready, and you need 2 if you have dual citizenship.
Yeah.
There's a new rule. Things to do are also to look for a place to live abroad, to register for school.
Yep.
You do it far in advance. You know, a lot of things to look after. Pay your tax before you leave the country.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I
It's
did.
endless. The list is endless.
I did leave the country once and had a lot of things to tie up before leaving. Obviously,
Yeah.
I came back to Japan, but I didn't have a family at that point, so that was not not as hard as I can only imagine this is.
Yeah. There's a lot to do.
So I feel I have to ask though, 20 plus years here, why throughout all of this you still kept it in mind that you would go back to Canada and not just stay here indefinitely? I mean, you mentioned the bilingualism of your kids, but that's only one thing. Is it really that important?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, also from my point of view, as husband and father, I think I'm ready to do more for my family, because right now my wife does a lot of things because a lot of documents are in Japanese, and taking care of the family, she has to do a lot of extra work, and I'm not very good at that. So
I know you mentioned at one point that you
Something like that.
also wanted to kind of get back to Canadian lifestyle, maybe have a larger
right,
place.
yes.
And
yes, also
green space.
That's right. I told you once. I'm looking forward to having more space, my own home and the yard, and having a little more nature around the cities where we live in. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're
Different,
basically walking around in the area where you live, and well, there's green space, but it's not Canada green space.
No. Very little. So I've actually 2 reasons then for language.
Yep.
For my children to learn English, and also for them to see and experience living in a different culture.
At some point, you know, I may change my mind about things, but for now, answering the question, will I stay or will I go? Well, you've chosen to go, and it sounds like that was always in the back of your mind anyways, one way or another.
Right.
For me, it's pretty much a decision that I'm going to stay. I don't have any plans to leave Japan. When people ask me how long I'm going to live in Japan, I tell them truthfully, indefinitely. I just don't have any plans to leave, and I don't really feel like I'm going to be making any such plans anytime soon. So,
Right.
but like I mentioned, this is something that a lot of foreigners wrestle with, and we've had a lot of friends and coworkers leave Japan to go back to their country of origin.
And they never come back.
Yeah, we never come back.
I might.
That's true.
I think I might someday.
I know a couple people who did return to the U.S. and then ended up moving back to Japan again. I mean, myself included. So
there you go. Yeah.
But yeah, most people who leave stay gone. I will say this: whatever it is that you decide, if you come to live in Japan or you're living here now, it's a question you're probably going to have to deal with. You might end up like me, staying probably forever. You might be like Matt here, who is heading back, you know, maybe not permanently. It seems like the possibility exists you might return to Japan at some point, and your kids certainly might. You know, they're gonna experience Canadian life and might in the future decide that they want to come back here.
Yeah, and they have options now.
Yep, the options exist, and that's a good thing.
It
So,
is.
whether you imagine yourself living in Japan forever, or you imagine yourself returning to your country of origin, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell so you get notifications. That really helps me out. It's something I want to stress. You know, I have fun making these videos. It's just a hobby, and I want to engage with the audience. Comment below on your situation, how you feel about living in Japan, or why you want to live in Japan if you're not here now. And anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Just if you have something that you want to do, it may take time, but hold on to your dreams.
You certainly have 20 odd years, but now it's happening.
It is.
All right. Thanks for doing this, Matt.
No worries.
And thank you for watching. Catch you on the next one.